We got some guys here today helping us to install these conveyors. All these old conveyors we pulled out of our old buildings that are still in good shape. So it's just taking some work to get the ends good to go. Just putting some new bearings on these, and it's a new chain there. So we're about to hang these two shorter ones up for the first two silos. Get this mixer out of the way now. We got 2 out of the 4 conveyors hung up, and they're getting ready for tomorrow morning. We're gonna get the longer one set in place. I wanted to walk out, grab a couple corn stalks. We did those ag bags last week and that stuff was still plenty wet, but wanted to check this variety. We did have some trouble this year. The ears are actually sticking out of the husks a little bit on some of the corn. So we got this wood chipper. I'm gonna put the corn stalks in there to chop them up. Got it chopped up. Still feels pretty green. But now we're gonna do a coster test. So I'm gonna put 100 grams of silage in this container. I got the coster tester going. We're gonna cook all the moisture out of that sample and then see what percentage of the weight it lost, and that'll tell us the moisture percentage. My dad's feeding. We're getting all the silage out of the new ag bags now. Good stuff. It's wet, but it's feeding really well. The cows like it. It's going through its initial fermentation. It's kind of was heating in the last week, but it's going to start to stabilize more now. Cows like the taste of it, and the milk hasn't dropped at all, so we're happy. Ag bags are pretty handy if you're on a concrete pad. It's really nice to scoop out of. In the mud or on the stones isn't as nice. We're We're getting ready to hang the first half of this long conveyor. We're gonna have this wooden section on the end. This will be above the mixer, and then it transitions to poly the rest of the way. We want to make sure we have the poly material outside, it won't rot out. We got guys here today helping us with the bin augers as well, so they're getting started. Okay, so we got all 4 conveyors up. Now we have to get this one set up to run this afternoon to feed cows. We just need to seal this hole so that the feed doesn't shoot out. Here's the conveyor we're going to be using. We're ready to start the feeding. This is going to be our setup for the next few weeks. Got that conveyor running up top. Put a slide in it right there so we can drop down into this conveyor. So, should work. Sealed up pretty good. Close. Do something right there a little bit. Not bad, but okay, that worked pretty well for the most part. Had a little bit of excess feed passing that slide out board going up into the mixer. So I moved the mixer out of the way so we don't have a mess inside of there. I don't really know what else to do. That's the best we can do, I think, for temporary setup. The auger guys, they already have 3 augers up from the first 3 bins through the wall there. It's the next day. And we were working at putting this metal on the outside of the building again. The conveyors are all in, so we can put it back. Just takes some time to measure everything and hopefully cut at the right spot. We're down to one last piece of metal that has to go back on this wall on the outside. We decided we're going to put a exhaust fan right there. So I'm going to work at framing that up right now. There's going to be a fair amount of dust that comes out of the grain and mainly the hay. We figured if we have an exhaust fan in the back, it'll just pull that dust out the back, at least a bunch of it. Just picked one of those up today. It's an 18-inch fan. I don't know if there's a way we could program it that it just runs when the feed's actually mixing. This is what everything's looking like now. Conveyors all were done yesterday, and the bin guys were here part of today, finishing up those augers up top there. So we got 5 flex augers coming from the 5 bins outside to go through the wall there, and then out across and down. 2 of the bins have the stirrers in there. There's a vertical piece that sticks up in there that'll keep it from bridging up. So this will be the dairy cow supplement bin. Stuff doesn't flow quite as well as the dry corn or soybeans. It's got some minerals in it, so we figure we better play it safe and put that system on. So it adds a little bit of extra cost there. There's a motor, and it'll turn that stirring inside there as it's running. There's the pre-fresh, pre-mixed bin as well. Has one of those. The other 3 are just the standard. Just gravity flow into those. Got a window you can see in there, see the auger. You can actually take those wing nuts off and open that up if you would need to. The electricians were here, some this week as well. Got these 3 boxes up. These are the control boxes for the silos. You'll be able to switch it over to automatic mode, or you can manually run these. We're trying to get metal back on these walls as soon as possible, so that way the electricians can finish wiring these silos up. They're gonna bring it outside, and they'll run it right to there, and then across here as well to this silo. And they wired in some lights out here, as well as a light in the top of the silo shining down on the inside. So that'll be controlled with this switch, so we can turn that light in the top and this light are the same switch. Also, they put an outlet there on every silo. For the exhaust fan, I'm just making a box out of treated 2x10s. Gonna screw this together, and then we'll stick this up there in the wall. It's the next day now. It's Friday morning. Gonna keep working at putting metal back on these walls. I want to put the metal on that back side, then we can stick the insulation all back in and work on putting metal on the inside then. We have a couple details we need to figure out. We're gonna have a molasses tank somewhere in this area, as well as these 2 mineral bins. We have flex pipes coming from those as well. So we need to figure out where exactly we're gonna run those lines in. I don't know that I want to run them the whole way up to the top and then in that same gap, just because that's a pretty steep incline. It'd be kind of nice to just bring it up through right in this area. I have to leave a gap for that stuff, but besides that, everything else is in place. We've been feeding for a couple days now, using that long conveyor, dropping it into the elevator. Working fine for a temporary setup. I think we might be onto something with the light conveyor combination switch. When have you ever needed a conveyor but don't also need a light? And when have you ever needed a light but don't also need a conveyor? We have a single phase motor on there, and we just temporarily plugged it into the light outlet up there. When we actually go to run the system, we have a 3-phase motor that's going to go on that conveyor. It's the same as the other ones, and then they're gonna have to be wired into the system. I'm gonna keep picking away. We'll get this box put up. Everything fit in pretty nicely. These flex tubes, just kind of bend them down, fit them in. I wonder a little bit about grain flowing through these, if there'd be a potential for them to plug. We'll see. Just certain ingredients that are a little stickier I could see possibly holding up in there, but maybe I'm wrong. That's definitely something we can mess with if we need to make an adjustment. Box is 21 3/4 wide. I thought maybe I could, yeah, I just wasn't sure how. So I guess we can picture what we want here, but I was picturing up the whole way.
You could put.
Got the outside walls all back on. Now we're gonna stick insulation back in before we put the metal on the inside. This room's not gonna be heated all the time, but we figure we might as well keep the insulation in if we have it. And if we want to work in here in the winter, we can run a heater. It'll actually stay semi-warm. We left this gap a little bit big. Our plan is to run the 2 mineral augers through there and the molasses pipe. I think we can bend them up through, fit them in somewhere. Hey guys, so it's the next morning. We're making some good progress with the walls. We want to get the rest of this metal on today. Today's Saturday. The electrician's going to be coming the beginning of the week to run some conduit through to wire the silos up. We would like to get this done, so we're out of his way for sure. We need power to those silos because it's looking like we could possibly be doing corn silage the end of next week. And for that, we need to have the silo unloaders working so we can get them up to the top and have them running, spinning while we're filling. So yeah, just have the last of this metal work. It just takes a little bit more effort to put it back on versus taking it off because we got to cut around these conveyors, door and everything else, but just takes some patience. It'll be nice. I'll edit this video that it looks like we're super efficient just flying through this job. We're actually not the most efficient with stuff like this. I've just been taking my time. It's taking longer than it would a pro to do metal work, but we're getting it covered. Glad to have the insulation done. That stuff's itchy and nasty, but now we can get these walls covered up. It's going to look a lot nicer with the metal back on. At first I was cutting the metal with this shears. It's a slow process. Started using the cutting wheel and the angle grinder. That is definitely the way to do it. Saved me quite a bit of time. These sheets of metal take up 36 inches of the wall, but they overlap a little bit, so it comes to like 37 and a half. What I'm noticing on this first sheet, we have kind of a problem because this entire conveyor is inside of one sheet of metal. Most of them have been splitting, which is kind of nice. So you can just cut a notch, fit it halfway across, and then fit the next one in. This sheet goes from there to right at the door. You're gonna have to cut this entire hole out of the center of a sheet. And then I guess I'll cut a little line across there so that we can actually get the sheet around it. I gotta cut just a little bit out of the door for this sheet and then get all the conveyor measurements. All right, so made some notes there. If that makes any sense, we'll go mark this out now. I got it marked off. Now I'm gonna double check everything before I cut it. Just have to get it in the top. As you go down, got a lot accomplished in this video. It was really nice to have some guys helping us with conveyors and also the augers up there. Very happy to have that step done. Now the rest of the boxes can be hung on the walls. This charger can be hooked up and we'll be able to program the routes for the feeding system. Came together pretty much the way that I was picturing it. It was kind of hard to picture exactly how it would look. Still got some more metal to put on that part of the building. Alright guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.